Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to today's Intelligent Document Processing Digital Summit. My name is Sally Fletcher, Head of SSON Digital, and I'm delighted to be hosting this session today. So before the break, we looked at how IDP can be used to scale vendor disputes and how they have been really used for great effect at Spectrum brands. We're going to be delving now into one of the most kind of current topics of the moment, which is, of course, AI. We're going to be speaking to Zach here, Zach Lowe, about navigating the future, document processing, automation, and AI in enterprise transformation. Before I hand over to Zach, a few notices on the dashboard you see before you. So you can earn certifications. This session is eligible for CPE points. You need to take part in at least 2 polls, you can see here, watch at least 28 minutes of the session, although I'm sure you're going to want to stay for the whole thing, and also be based in North America. So if you comply with those, you can download your certificate at this rosette icon. We also have the attendee chat that's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. All of our speakers are here live today, so please do make the most of that, posting your questions, your comments, and we'll make sure to leave some time at the end to answer those, or we'll send them on to the speaker to answer in more detail. It's not easy presenting online, so we have these emojis here, so you can give Zach a thumbs up if you agree with what he's saying, or a thumbs down if you don't, but hopefully we won't see too many of those. There's also the speaker bio and LinkedIn if you want to find out a little bit more about our speaker today, or connect with them on LinkedIn. You can do so at that head and shoulders icon. And finally, there is our resource center. The resource center has additional materials related to the presentation. So we've got in there a few different things. In this one, Rossum kindly provided us with a copy of some of their case studies and some of their white papers that they've been doing. So please do have a look through and download those. So who is our speaker this morning? Zach Lowe is a Senior Vice President of Sales at Rossum.ai, an AI-first cloud-native intelligent document processing platform. Zach himself has 12 years of experience working across a variety of sectors in the SaaS space, after most recently having worked at SAP through an acquisition of his former company and the Hut Group. So I'm going to hand over to you, Zach, to lead us in our next presentation.
Thanks very much, Sally, and thanks everybody for joining today. Really good to be dialed in. For those of you that are dialing in from the US, so hope that you have better weather than London today. It is incredibly cold. For those of you in the US, you probably always assume that that's the London weather anyway. So it's nice to meet you and nice to see everybody. We have a couple of different polls today, so I'm going to try and keep this as interactive as possible. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through, talk about document processing, automation, and AI in enterprise transformation. I know you guys have spent a lot of time this morning already talking around IDP, the way it works, the benefits of that. But hopefully what I can do today is give you the new vision of where we see AI in document processing and how we believe that's going to help businesses to ultimately scale. I'm going to start with a number, which is 25,000. I'm sure all of you are kind of wondering what that number might be. I'm sure people are probably kind of making some guesstimates at what 25,000 is. But for us and at Rossum, that's the number that we see. That's the average number of transactional document processed by a single person per year. Good to see you, Dan. Now that may seem like a lot, right? You've got an AP team of 4 people. They're going to get through 100,000 transactional documents per year. But the reality of that, when you think about the manual processing, the time, the effort, the efficiency that takes, and then you add in things like the mistakes, you take in the holidays, you take in the illness, the sickness, the grumpy days, the happy days, all of those things really kind of impact the ultimate goal, which is 25,000 transactional documents per year. Now, who are we? And I'm not going to start this by telling you everything about us. That's not what this session is about, right? But just to give you some context as to where these numbers and where a lot of our business is founded from. We're a global organization. We've got 300 enterprise customers all over the world. I'm sure every single person here today will recognize one of the customers that we see on screen here today. And all of those customers are fundamentally helping us to achieve our vision. So the vision of Rossum is to empower one person to handle 1 million transactions per year. That's our big vision. That's what we focus on, which is 40x productivity improvement of standard. Now, of course, that comes from efficiency, it comes from AI, and it comes from a whole host of different areas. But we'll focus on how we get to that point as we go through. What I actually want to do is I want to start with a bit of a poll. I'd love to understand from the people here today, what do you think is the most important factor in intelligent document processing? Is it OCR for faithful text extraction? Is it validation, so ensuring correctness against predefined rules, reference data? Or is it automation? Is it making sure that once that document's in, we understand where the document goes, we make the right decision about that document? I'd love for you guys to answer that for me today and just give me a bit of a steer as to what you believe is the most important part of IDP. Now, this was the bit I didn't plan with Sally. I don't know how long I'm meant to be quiet for, so I'll give it another 20 seconds.
We'll leave it up. We'll leave it up there, guys. It should be in a pop-up for you, and we'll have a look at the answer later. So, yeah, we can carry on, and then I think we're going to reveal the results.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Sally. That really helped. So, look, when we think about accuracy and we think about the conversations that we have here at Rossum, most businesses consider accuracy as the percentage of correct information that's gathered from a scanned document. Probably not wrong, right? We think about accuracy a little bit different. And again, maybe it was a bit of a trick question, but what I wanted to do was enable you to start to think about what do you as an individual consider as accuracy, and hopefully help you to reframe how we think about accuracy. We actually think about accuracy as all three of those things, right? Accurate OCR, capturing the right information, validating that information, and then automating that information. And that's really where we see true accuracy. Now, the reason why we take just as much care about all three of these things is because fundamentally, they're all massive problems for businesses. We see these challenges coming up every single day. We call them the 3 Vs: variability, volume, and velocity. 9% of documents that are exchanged between businesses contain discrepancies. They contain problems, whether it might be a code, it might be a sort code, it could be an address, it could be who it's going to, where it's coming from, the total, the sum, all of those things fundamentally take a lot of time for a business to understand, right? The variability of those changes causes time and inefficiencies within AP teams and SSC teams and so far and so forth. Volume ultimately is now leading to fraud. AP as a vertical is now being the highest targeted when it comes to fraud right now within the industry that we see. 71% of organizations were targeted by fraud in 2021. And fundamentally, a lot of that comes from the velocity, right? 53, let's just come back there. Let me just push this one. Thank you. 53% of new document traffic comes from new business partners every single year. How do you as an AP team, how do you keep up, right? And that's what we're going to talk about. How do you answer those challenges today? Now, the reality of all of those things, the reality of the problem, the reality of the variability, the velocity, and the variety is really simple, right? It causes frustration between you, your business, your teams, but fundamentally also with your suppliers, right? If you're not paying late, you're paying the wrong thing, you're paying on time, but actually internally, maybe the inaccurate data is making it downstream. As a business, you may have to reconcile back between your end system, your payment system, your ERP. And fundamentally, all of these things ultimately lead to things like financial implications and so on and so forth within your teams. So let's look at how we see enterprises addressing this challenge. And again, all of these things, and I'm sure many, many people today are probably on this journey or somewhere across this journey. Right? But if we think back 20, 30 years, and I often say 20, 30 years, it was realistically a manual team of people that were inputting the data, they were opening the post, they were taking the data, they were writing it onto balance sheets and wherever else it needed to go. And actually today, we're still seeing many large enterprises, I'm sure there are quite a few people on this call today that still have an element of manual data entry, right? And that's the real challenge for these businesses, because scaling manual data entry is almost impossible without adding more people. Now, how did we try and solve that over the years? We had digital. People took the information that was printed on a piece of paper or an invoice and they entered it onto the computer. Pretty much the same as manual, but maybe a little bit quicker. And then you had a central record of system to keep up. And then over the last kind of 10, certainly 5-10 years, we've now started to introduce OCR as a technology, right? It's typically evolving around having to create templates and reading the information that's on that document. The challenge is, of course, then if that document is incorrect, or you take the wrong information, or even that template is set up for a particular supplier, and as we saw earlier, 53% of traffic comes from new suppliers, it can break those templates. So that's really our answer, right? We're now in this new phase where we see AI, right? Intelligent document processing. AI, which seamlessly moves documents from input through to output at scale with incredibly high accuracy. But you're probably all asking, I certainly am, what is real AI, right? And how does it achieve better accuracy? And if we think about accuracy, again, it's not just around OCR, it's around automation, it's around validation. That's what we really focus on here, is that end-to-end journey when it comes to accuracy. Just to reiterate, we believe real AI is the ability to empower one person to process 1 million transactions per year alone. Rossum is focused in a particular niche. We focus on transactional documents, really making sure that we understand and own that industry better than anybody else. And I'll come on to tell you a little bit why. But if we just frame the problem and we think about accuracy and we think about shared service centers and AP teams and fundamentally intelligent document processing, it's not just about one area. It's not just about understanding, and it's not just about automation. It really is the collaboration of both sides coming together. So how do we understand that document, and how do we automate that document moving forward? And that's what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about with the Rossum AI capability today. So why is Rossum AI different? Right? I'm proud to sit here and talk to you about who Rossum are. We're an 8-year-old organization, and fundamentally we have seen hundreds of millions of transactional documents over the last 8 years. Our AI has been trained on every single one of those documents, and also those documents have been annotated time and time again to train our AI, so that understandably our technologies and our systems understand documents better than anybody else, right? That's the reason why we're proud enough to have a free trial that anybody here today can go on the website and they can access, right? You can see it in action. You can see it working for you. But I want to give you some real world examples of document understanding and the way AI understands that point. We work with a global franchisee organization, right? They have multiple thousands of different franchises, and each franchise has the ability to order from a variety of different suppliers. And all of those suppliers' invoices then come through to the franchise and then back up to the central shared service center. Now, as you could probably imagine, right, the variability of those formats is incredible. Every day, every week, every month, there's a new invoice that comes from a new supplier that one of their franchisees has started to work with. That's really important for Rossum, right? We understand that data, and immediately not only can we try and capture as much of that data as possible, but undoubtedly, right, AI is AI, it needs to be trained. Every annotation, every interaction that happens within the Rossum system trains our AI that second, instantly, to make sure those improvements continue to get better over time. We focus incredibly hard on our accuracy out of the box. And actually, you think about that, right? If you're a global franchisee business and you think about currency being the accurate point for you, maybe it's not so bad if you think about, oh, maybe we recognize a dollar as a pound, or we recognize a euro as a pound, right? It's bad, but it's not that bad. But the reality is, when you start to look at some of the more fluctuating currencies, yen is a perfect example, right? Swapping yen for dollar, there's about 150x return there. So that's exactly the type of structure that we think about here. And we talk about currency, and Tony, to your point there, we can handle pretty much every language currently in the world, right? And I'll come on to talk about one of our Japanese customers later that we built a complete Japanese model for. And then again, when it comes to volume of documents, right? Our AI has understood most of them. It's already seen such a variety of documents that it can handle more, it can handle better, it can handle quicker, because we're cloud native, right? We don't need templates, we don't need coding. We can really ingest documents of any size, any type. We can ingest zip files. There's a variety of different ways that we can work. And that's really around the AI being already set up to understand the workflows, the systems, the complexities of different businesses. And that's really where we see AI now taking common place. But if I then take just the understanding part and we transition it through to the automation part, this is where that really gets interesting, right? And I often say to my customers, right, and they always talk about accuracy. And I'm sure everybody here has asked themselves, I need to be 99% accurate. I need to be 100% accurate. It needs to be this, it needs to be that. My biggest question to people is always, but what's the point in being 100% accurate if the document is fraudulent? It doesn't make sense. So the real catalyst for end-to-end automation is having the right level of automation, leveraging AI to answer those questions for businesses that perhaps people typically miss. We work with a large steel manufacturer. That steel manufacturer, often, as you could imagine in the steel industry, there is typically a set list of suppliers that most people tend to work with. They have fraudulent invoices coming through very, very regularly. And again, the opposite world of AI is unfortunately how easy it is to make invoices and fraudulent documents and so on and so forth. They're often changing things like IBAN numbers, right? It's really, really interesting to see, and we can spot those instantly. We spot them before they even hit the AP team, and we can highlight them as risk, we can highlight them as suspicious, we can send them back. We highlight things like duplicate documents instantly without your team even needing to spend time. And again, that's really how we focus to make sure that your team, and that's how we get to that 1 million documents a year, is spending time doing the things that matter across your teams with your people. The second part for this steel manufacturer is actually not everything is in that document is written, right? How do we associate the document itself and assign it to the right GL codes? We have AI that can understand that. How do we take what's in that document? They're a really interesting use case. So they buy steel globally in a variety of different ways. They buy it in tons, they buy it in cubic meter, they buy it in flat sheets. But in their business, they have one metric, which is square meter flat sheets of steel. So within our setup and within our structure, we're able to convert every single invoice, take it in, understand it, but also convert a manufacturer into flat square meter of steel. So really giving customers more than what's just in that document to really focus on how do we help this business to become more efficient, more streamlined, more complex and capable. And then finally, for me, I think the other end of automation is making sure that it is completely customizable. We often see, and I'm sure many people here today have been reticent to make a change because change management is difficult in many, many businesses, right? You need to ask somebody to change the way that they work on a daily basis. It becomes difficult, right? You'd love to make the change, but the internal impact is difficult. The way that we've organized our capability and our setup is very much to be flexible for our customers, right? Customizing that AI so that it can work on different confidence rules, thresholds to enable your business to get comfortable. We're aware that not everybody is fully comfortable with just allowing AI to make every decision. But how do we work with businesses to enable them to get comfortable with AI and train and learn over time? That's the most important part for us, right? And I'm sure everybody here would love to see it and would love to use it, but everybody's still a little bit hesitant, right? And it's really about making sure you feel comfortable with the setup and the capability that you have when it comes to AI. I mentioned earlier, and I think somebody asked just around our language capabilities. And of course, you can have a look at our website, and happy to have any conversations. This is a customer we're really proud of. And the language piece was huge for us, right? We trained a Japanese engine, we trained an English engine, we split documents, we receive them via email, we go directly into their back-end systems. But I'd say the reason we're most proud of this is we are one of the only providers that MTBJ have, which is actually sat externally to Japan. Right, we spent a lot of time with those guys. We spent a lot of time in Japan to really work with them to understand what it is that was causing them problems. And again, it was a lot to do with the time it was spent to translate, to understand, to augment their information, to get it to a global setup and global database. And that's really what we're doing here. 75% workload reduction. We're dealing with 90 different types of financial documents now, and 15 different departments are using Rossum across both Japan and also in the UK. And of course, speed. One of the biggest things that we forget about when it comes to AI is its speed and time to value, right? Being able to start you without needing a data set of learning, being able to instantly get you guys to where you need to be is absolutely crucial for any of our customers to continue to see benefit over time. So I guess a small summary, there really is no automation without true accuracy. There is no point automating wrong information. There is no point reading incorrect information. There is no point validating with the wrong type of data. And that's exactly where we really focus, right? Enabling businesses to continue to innovate at pace. Now, I'd love to take a look at the poll results. I think if I've got that set up, it probably comes here. And that's actually really interesting, right? I think I'd love to understand, and I'm sure some people probably think about it here, but it's really good to kind of get this feedback, right? We spent a lot of time, and actually, interestingly, I was at an AP conference in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and we were looking around, and I'm sure many of you have attended conferences, right? And it's all about, you see their boards behind them, and it's always like 99% accurate, 98% accurate. And what I really enjoy about the audience clearly here is they understand that perhaps accuracy is not the most important piece, right? The validation is more important, and fundamentally the automation is exactly where the value sits for these businesses. And hopefully today has helped you to kind of get a bit of an overview as to how we believe Rossum can support that view. Three key takeaways for everybody to take away today. Embrace continuous innovation and agility, whether that is using AI, whether it's using machine learning, whether it's using new technologies in a particular use case or to solve a particular problem. Obviously, I'm going to stand here and tell you to invest in IDP capabilities. That's my job. But fundamentally, I do think that we as an organization and we as a world should be really leveraging AI in the right way to reclaim valuable manual time, manual effort, enhancing productivity, and really focusing on maximizing the accuracy that we give within our organization sets. Finally, from me, just as a really quick overview of Rossum, I did promise that I'd save it till last. We're fortunate enough to have recently been named a leader in the intelligent document processing software vendors category. That's a mouthful, for the IDC MarketScape. We've got, as I said, just 300 odd customers from an amazing array of Fortune 500 customers globally. We were founded in 2017. We had a large Series A, and fundamentally they don't matter, right? It's the fact that we're always investing in our people and investing in our product. 40% of our revenue goes back into R&D. We're a global organization. We're headquartered in Prague, so that's where our main office is, as well as the UK, US, Spain, and Luxembourg. And we're a small business, right? We're about 200 people worldwide, and really proud of the organization that we've built here today, and would love to continue to answer any questions that anybody has.
That was brilliant. Thank you so much, Zach. Really, really interesting. And there was lots and lots of comments and questions in the chat. So I think that's always a sign of a good session. So we've got about 8 minutes for questions now. So please do pop them into the Q&A and we'll get to as many as possible. So the first one comes from Vladimir. Vladimir's asking, what are the limitations for using your solution? So, for example, document type, minimum image quality, number of documents that can be submitted in a batch, languages supported. Lots of questions in one.
Yeah, sure. So, Vladimir, I guess in typical sales fashion, right? Everybody expects me to just say, there are no limitations and everything's going to be great. And AI solves every single problem. And fundamentally, it would be a lie without really understanding your problems. But I can give you a general overview, right? So I mentioned earlier, document type. Rossum tends to play in the majority of its instance within transactional documents. So that is everything from invoices, sales orders, and then a lot of the financial and logistical invoices, things like bills of lading, packing slips, so on and so forth. That's typically the document type that we play in, as well as even now moving into some other areas around leasing. And we've got a new AI release, which we're going to talk about at another point, hopefully with the SSON team, where that really comes in. Image quality is a really interesting one. I believe there's a case study on our website that talks around how our AI is able to really look at poor quality images. Scanned images are often the biggest challenge, right? Especially in logistics. And we work with some amazing logistics companies. We're able to translate and understand scanned documents in an incredible way. Handwritten is probably still an area that we tend to stay away from. There are better providers for handwritten. And in terms of number of documents, we have no limit in terms of the documents that can be submitted in a batch. We can take zip files as well as ingesting at the scale of millions of documents a day, an hour, and languages again. So we can understand any language that comes in within reason. And again, I'm not going to promise the world. I'd much rather understand those languages to understand your need and requirement. But fundamentally, our platform is also available in English and a couple of other languages as well.
Fantastic, thank you. Yes, another question that's come through, and this has come through from Tony. Tony's asking, how do you qualify if a project is the right fit for you? So what's an area that proves a problem for Rossum?
So I guess I kind of answered it on the last conversation, right? It's really enabling typically accounts payable teams, but also any area which takes transactional documents at a high scale. So for absolute avoidance of doubt, we tend to have a little bit of a minimum structure. It's usually a minimum quality of around 10,000 documents per year is where our AI can suffice and learn well. So that's typically the kind of minimum access point. But of course, we go up to 10s, 20 million documents for some of our customers on an annual basis as well. So that kind of tends to fall through. The challenges that we get really fall across two areas, right? It's understanding the data, but more importantly, at the larger end, it's automating that data, bringing that data into the business, creating the right rules, creating the right systems and setups and frameworks so that we can enable a business to get more value from the process that they're implementing using Rossum.
Sorry, I was just looking at all the questions come through as well, trying to keep on top of it at the same time.
No
Another question that's come through, and I hope that you understand this because I don't, is from Stephanie. Yeah. Stephanie says, do you identify wet signatures?
Yes, Stephanie. Unfortunately, I would typically say that there are usually other providers that are better for that, right? We focus typically on typed wording. Rather than signatures in that way. There are many other suppliers which kind of do a bit of a better job than that, and everybody needs a fair crack of the whip in this industry, right?
Brilliant. And another question that's come through is just about security. If you've got any, someone's asking about data security and data privacy with using the IDP solution. How do you kind of ensure that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got all of our ISO certificates as well as supporting some of our larger customers. I think in the US, if you're publicly listed, you need to have SOX set up structures and certifications. So we support all of our businesses in that way. As you can imagine, in the banking industry, the way that we work with individual document information is important. Certainly as we move into things like the medical industry as well. That's a really important part as well for many of our customers. So would welcome that. There is a section on our website and absolutely would welcome a conversation with anybody and everybody on today's call.
Brilliant. Well, we're coming to the end of our time. So I've just put up a last poll. And if you would like to connect with Zach, hear more about Rossum, you can answer the poll. So either to arrange a call, learn more about AI-enabled IDP, or if you have everything you need, then please do, pop that into the poll, and we'll be able to help further with that. And then just to remind you, there are those resources to the right-hand side. I've got a couple of great case studies in there about something about the cost of doing nothing that Rami mentioned in the chat. So do please kind of download those and continue your learning. You can also connect with Zach on LinkedIn. His head and shoulders icon, you can click on that and it will lead you to his LinkedIn to connect. So we are going to take a short break right now. And when we come back, we're going to be looking at data. We have a panel discussion on how agile data capture enables processing of any documents and is leading the way for truly global processes. And that's with two speakers, Albano Magles from SEG Automotive and his colleague Vladimiro Ferreira, Head of IT Infrastructure and Automation at SEG Automotive too. They'll be starting their presentation at 10:30 Eastern Time, so I'll see you back here shortly. Thank you once again to Zach and the team at Rossum for a fantastic session.
Thank you, team. Have a lovely day.